What's good, beautiful people? Now look, the Philadelphia 76ers have impressed me. I'm not going to lie, man. Now I know Joel Embiid came back and his presence completely shifted the direction of the series, but it's really hard to ignore just how much impact he's had. It's hard to ignore how quickly this team made a turnaround when he touched on the hardwood. Pause. And Joel Embiid's impact can't be understated. It can't be undervalued. Let's be honest. Tobias Harris, Tyrese Maxey, they've done their best to actually put up points in this series. You know, there was a game where Tyrese Maxey had over 30 points. Tobias Harris had nearly 30 points. You know, James Harden was the wild card. You really didn't know what you were getting from him on a game-to-game basis from a scoring perspective. You know what you're going to get from him from a playmaking perspective, but you really didn't know what you would get in terms of scoring and efficiency. And he had one of his better shooting games as a Sixer. As a Sixer in these playoffs in Game 4. And the Sixers have tied the series 2-2, and now the Miami Heat are on their heels. And we go back to Miami to face them again in Game 5. And I truly expect the Sixers to win this game because they have the momentum. Now, granted, it's going to be a tough environment on the road in Miami, never easy. But the Sixers have momentum. They've discovered something. And I think the differentiating factor in this series will be who shoots the best, who plays the best defense down the stretch. And so far, the Sixers have snatched the momentum from the Miami Heat. Now they have to figure out or reclaim that momentum. And that's not going to be easy to do because of the way Joel Embiid plays the game, because of how physical he is, because of the impact he has on both sides of the court. And if we're being completely honest, Joel Embiid, like I said, completely shifted the way this series was intended to go. When Joel Embiid got hurt, you know, he's playing through a torn finger ligament. He's also playing through a fractured orbital bone, and he had a concussion. But when you consider all those things, he's nowhere near at 100%. Nowhere near that. Yet he's still impacting the game the way he's impacting it. And he's just being aggressive. And let's be honest about this. The Miami Heat have no answer. No matter how hard they try, they have no answer for what Joel Embiid brings to the table. They don't have anyone that can guard him. Their biggest player or their biggest center, I believe, is about 6'8", 6'9", and that's Bam Adebayo. They have no one that can physically match up with Joel Embiid, and they're going to have to double him. And you're going to start to see the Miami Heat actually try to force Joel Embiid to force the ball out of his hands when he gets in the paint. But Joel Embiid is making quick decisions, which makes it hard for them to do that. And it's also going to open the floor for other players as well. Shots are going to begin to fall for guys like Danny Green, Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris, James Harden. But here's another nuance to this series that's really interesting. You notice in Game 4 and in Game 3, the Miami Heat, were going at Joel Embiid on defense. They were trying to make Joel Embiid work on defense. They were doing their absolute best. And Jimmy Butler dropped 40 in Game 4. And he was giving Joel Embiid the business. I'll give him that. But anybody else that tried to score on Joel Embiid really couldn't get it done. Jimmy Butler was hot. It was what it was. But there was this moment where Victor Oladipo really tried to size up Joel Embiid. There was this moment where Victor Oladipo really tried to cook Embiid off the dribble. And Embiid was not having that. He followed that man all over the court, forced the kick ball, and they had to run it back on a possession. But like my thing is, Joel Embiid, another reason why he deserved MVP, but just how amazing he is on both sides of the ball. But this series has just gotten interesting, and this series can very well go 7 games. I obviously would love my Sixers to close it out in 6. That's the best we can hope for right now. You beat them in Miami, you close it out on your home court. It's very possible. Kyle Lowry is on one leg. Tyler Hero can sometimes be a liability on defense. Duncan Robinson has become virtually unplayable for some odd reason. Don't really have the answer to that question, but if I had to guess, he can't dribble the ball. He can't play defense. All he's good for is shooting. Whereas they have this kid named Strauss or whatever on their team that can actually play a little defense and can shoot, and they actually have a better winning record with Strauss on the floor. They've also brought in, I think it was Markieff Morris or something like that, or Marcus Morris, one of the Morris twins. They brought him back. And obviously they have Oladipo back. But the Miami Heat seem to be out of sorts. They seem to not be as cohesive as they've looked all throughout the playoffs and all season. And Miami is a team that's going to try to outwork you, outmuscle you, out physical you, right? And they really rely on their intimidation factor. You got guys like Jimmy Butler, a Morris twin, PJ Tucker. They really rely on, Bam Adebayo, right? This team really relies on their will. They really rely on their mystique, right? The Miami Heat have a certain swag, have a certain juice that intimidates the opponent. But I think they've met their match with this Philadelphia 76ers team. And the Philadelphia 76ers, on top of that, they have a Joel Embiid who didn't win the MVP award. And that man is going to come into game 5 playing with reckless abandon, and he's going to be playing with something to prove. This is not going to end well for the Miami Heat. I'm telling you right now, because the Sixers, not only the Sixers, but Joel Embiid is extremely motivated to prove that he is the one. And let's be honest, masked up Embiid is a different animal. My man moving like the Dark Knight. You either die a hero or live long enough to become the villain. But I'm super excited to see where the playoff series goes. Really happy for James Harden actually, popping his cherry in the playoffs, getting things back into motion for himself. He has to continue to maintain his level of efficiency. Kenny the Jet Smith said something very interesting about James Harden in the postgame. He said, if you notice, James Harden was getting to his shot very quickly. He was making decisions very quickly. He wasn't over dribbling. The moment you allow James Harden to over dribble, fatigue starts to take a set in, and he starts to make ill-advised decisions. And he doesn't have the legs to get the shot up. If you notice, he took a lot of his shots prior to 3 or 4 dribbles. He got to his spots. He dribbled the ball maybe 2, 3, 4 times, made a decision. Dribble no more than 3 times, make a decision. Either you pass it or you take the shot. And that's what he was doing. And he was getting to it. And I really respect the adjustments on the Sixers part. Doc Rivers is doing a hell of a job, I'll be honest. I really had questions about Doc Rivers in his playoffs, and he's showing that he's battle tested. He allowed the Raptors to come back from almost a 3-0 deficit. And now he's dealing with a Miami Heat team that he went down 2-0 and managed to coach his team back to a 2-2 series tie. So this series can very well go 7 games, but I'm hoping my Philadelphia 76ers can close it out in 6 games. But I want you guys to tell me what you think about the series. How do you guys feel about Joel Embiid's impact on the game? How do you guys feel about James Harden's 31-point outburst? Like, the Philadelphia 76ers very well can have a stranglehold in the series if they win in Miami. That's just how I feel about it. But I want you guys to comment below. Tell me what you guys think about Doc Rivers' coaching job. Also, let me know how you guys feel about the Miami Heat if you're a Miami Heat fan. Let me know if you believe the Miami Heat still have the dominant stranglehold on this series. The series is tied 2-2, so it's going to be kind of hard to really differentiate, but I'll leave it at that. I'm your humble host, Tone DeShields II from Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. One love, stay humble, stay healthy, and most importantly, stay hungry.